Should we or should we not teach music theory? The question of all questions. So many piano teachers think we should absolutely teach music theory from even the first couple of months of lessons. And actually, either we need to integrate them as part of our lesson, maybe at the end of the lesson for like 15 minutes, and teach it theoretically on a music notebook, etc. Or we should have it as a separate lesson, separate class that we do either another day of the week or we teach it in our music school in a group and in other formats like that. So, while most teachers answer to this question with an instant yes, we should absolutely teach music theory, I might disagree a little bit. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Gina and I run a successful piano studio here in the Netherlands. Currently, I have 40 students of my own and two more teachers working for my studio. So, in today's video, we're gonna talk about the different opinions about music theory teaching, but also practical ways to actually include music theory in your lessons, but not make it boring. If you do teach music theory in your lessons, have you noticed that students find it maybe a little bit boring? At least my student used to find it boring. It was always the not so creative part of the lesson. But now, the way I teach it now in my studio, it is probably one of the best parts of the lesson. And I have to say that all of my students really enjoy learning theory. Now, let's talk about why students don't like theory. Number one reason is, of course, they don't find it necessary. They don't understand why they have to learn that. Why do I need to know the major chords? Why do I need to know the minor scale? Why do I need to understand about intervals? I just want to play my songs. I don't care about all this theory stuff. This is what my students used to say to me. So maybe to make them understand the importance of music theory is by changing the way you teach it, maybe by making them first need to know things in order to play. So you may want to stay till the end of this video because I am going to share practical ways to do that. Now, let's talk about common opinions from music teachers. Most teachers think that music theory needs to be taught systematically and even separately from the instrument lesson piano, guitar, flute, voice. We take a music notebook and we start writing scales, intervals, key signatures, and often it feels like we're solving math problems, which I personally love, but I didn't used to love it when I was young. And it's logical that they do it this way. We want our students to understand the theory. Otherwise, this will go in the way of them playing more developed and advanced pieces, right? You know it very well for yourself. When you have a challenging piece, often you cannot remember, oh, here I play a D and an F and an A, but I do remember this is a D minor chord. But an 8-year-old student, to start thinking this is a D minor, this is an A major in order to play something by heart, it's not so common and it doesn't come naturally to them. You can teach them to think that, but it makes no sense if you just teach them the chords. So, this is the problem. If we teach music theory separately and on a paper, it doesn't connect to the musical experience of the students. But don't worry, there are ways to make it fun, to make it creative and enjoyable for your students. Just stay with me. Let me tell you about my view of teaching theory. I absolutely not believe we should start teaching theory separately from the lesson when we have beginner students. Yes, we might need to do it with intermediate and advanced students that maybe take exams like ABRSM or any other kind, or students that are teenagers, late teenagers, and they want to become professionals and go to a conservatory. Yes, we have to dedicate a considerable amount of time and actually teach in depth music theory in order to prepare them. However, for the average beginner student, and especially for younger ages, maybe between 5 to even 10, 11? Absolutely no. I personally don't even teach how to read music notation in the couple of first months. So, yes, theory is important. Theory is very important. But timing and method matters. We want to make our students curious about it and engaged. If they are curious, they pay attention. And if they pay attention, they learn faster, better, and it makes absolute sense for them. So students don't need theory first, they need curiosity first. Students don't need a music notebook, but they do need to experience it in a practical way on their instrument. By the way, if you're finding this video useful, please make sure you hit the subscribe button so I can keep making videos like this for you. Let's get back to our video now. Now we're arriving to the most important part of this video. How to do it. Practical ways to teach music theory, but without making it boring for your students. Here is the method that I use. It's sneaky, it's playful, and of course it is improvisation. Now, if you're not new here, you know that I love improvisation. And as I've said before, me personally, I was not a particularly good student at improvising. Actually, even to this day, I'm not good at it. But of course, in the level of teaching students the basic elements of improvisation, my students would say I'm good. So, step number one, we do not start with terminology, we start with sound. You tell your student to start making a song together. You sit next to them on the piano, on the bass part, and they sit on the primo part, and you don't mention anything about which keys they are allowed to play, or what fingers, or how fast or slow. You don't mention anything, and you just start playing together. Of course, as you can imagine, their notes that they're playing will clash sometimes. So they will not sound very good with what you play. Of course, you should play something that makes sense for your part. Maybe you play a nice A minor, something like this. And they start playing notes that don't match together, and they create many dissonant sounds. After you finish a 1 or 2 minute improvisation like this, you ask them, did this sound nice to you? And they answer, no. Then you guide them and you say, okay, use only the right hand and go to A position on the piano. A, B, C, D, E. And you can say these are the only 5 keys you can play. No black keys and don't go out of this position. Then you play the same improvisation again. Your part should be absolutely the same. And the student now plays notes that match with what you play. After 1 or 2 minutes of doing that, you stop again and you ask again, did this sound nice to you? And they say, yes, how can this be? And then you start integrating the knowledge about some notes go together well and some don't. And if you know which go together well, you can always make nice songs. And if you don't know, it will probably sound like the first song we made. Sometimes students are suspicious. They don't really believe you. So they will say, no, no, no. I bet if we do it again, maybe it will not sound good. And you say, okay, let's try something. Now let's add one black key. One black key in this position. So you're in A position, and let's add the B flat. This black key. You don't need to name it if they don't know what B flat means. Just this black key. Now you start playing again exactly the same. And the student plays an improvisation including the B flat, and it sounds not good when they play the B flat. It's funny because in that moment their ears are super sharp. They're listening to everything because they want to test it. So after you finish 1 or 2 minutes of this improvisation, you ask, when you played the black key, did it sound good or bad? And they say, when I played the black key, it sounded bad. So this again proves your point. Now they start believing you and they're more open to be guided by you. Still, you have not mentioned the word theory. We're not doing theory because what you're doing is not theory, it is practice. It is something practical on the piano. Something else you can do is still, again, of course, in the format of improvisation. And if you want to teach chords, for example, you only let them play chords with random keys while you are in A minor, for example, or any key you prefer. And many of these chords will not sound good. And then through that, the same exact structure, you can teach them that, this chord sounds good now because we are in the A minor key and this chord is the A minor chord. So you can start teaching them exactly in this way. And believe me, when students discover theory through sound, they never forget it. With my students, it's really funny because they start asking me in each lesson to improvise together and they want me to give them guidelines. So they will ask, which position should we do today? Which black key should I play? And every week you teach them a new key, a new scale. Today it's A minor, tomorrow it's E minor, the day after is D major. Through that, you can also introduce majors and minors, of course. Even better. Do you want to make a song that sounds happy, bright, sunny, funny? Or do you want to make a song today that sounds gloomy, nostalgic, sad? And they choose and they start understanding, oh, the major keys sound more bright, sunny, funny, happy, and the minor keys sound the opposite. No theory included. Some students, especially above the age of 10, they start asking, should I maybe get a notebook to write these things down? Then you know, you won them over. Yes, let's take a notebook. Let's start writing down these things so we never forget them. So if you want to remember something, you just go to your notebook and it's written there. And this, my friends, is teaching music theory with my method. Practical, sneaky, fun, creative. And you get exactly the result you wanted. You get students that understand theory, they remember theory, and they're asking for more. Now, I hope this video helped, but if you want more practical, creative ways to teach your students, check my other video next. 5 creative games for piano teachers. See you there.